You fell for the hype and you purchased a DGX Spark. Can this actually do real labor? Well, in this video, we're going to set one up together. So by the end of this video, I'm going to show you a real workflow that I use personally on this DGX Spark with local LLMs, vision LLMs, all the LLMs type situation. So therefore, by the end of this video, you'll see if you even need one of these to do everything you want to do type of video. Welcome back, y'all. This is the end of a big series here talking about local AI and its relevance when it comes to actually owning the hardware and doing real things. If you want to see how to connect your Spark or Studio or anything of that nature, you need to watch the previous episode in this series. In this lesson, though, I'm just going to go over a real workflow that I created, and you're going to learn just deeper knowledge when it comes to understanding open source code and how everything connects. So right off the bat, what is open source code in this context? Open source code is going to give your hardware very specific abilities and actions. And the one we're going to look at today, very much so, is FFmpeg, which is free code that will allow me to take a video, extract images, everything of this nature. So let's go ahead and craft up our prompt here. So here's a prompt. Okay, we are building a pipeline. That's how you want to start it. So that I just provide my YouTube video, you extract the transcript and images from the video. I'm going to say MP4, so it doesn't think it's like an actual public video. It's just like the file. Transcript you use to give me the title, description options based on the first 30 seconds of the video. Image we will use for creating the thumbnail, and we will use GPT image 2. The extraction of the image will be reference image we use, and on top of that, you will use a local Quen 8B to see if the image has the best shot of the person in the video with the clearest face quality. First thing you understand, this is going to install something called FFmpeg locally onto the Spark. FFmpeg has a bunch of different capabilities, but the first thing you can understand is that one use case we're going to use with this is for the ability to extract a video and get images from that video, like literally images. Like this could be an image right here, that situation. But because you're installing FFmpeg for this specific pipeline, which is, we can just say pipeline 1 or just say pipe 1, this also means that this same value that we can get from this can be used in an alternative pipeline for a whole separate use case, that whatever it may be. So maybe the other separate use case to use FFmpeg is so that we get vertical videos and extract images from vertical videos or whatever it may be. Point being is that this code isn't duplicated. It's actually just leveraged throughout the entire infrastructure of what you're building. And like anything big that you do, please go into plan mode. Which model should generate the title, description options? Local Quen 3.8B. I mean, we could just keep it local. Let's just do that for now. As you know from the previous video, this could go hybrid between local and cloud. How should the transcript be extracted? Local Whisper CLI. There we go. See, we'll use Whisper. We don't have to pay. How should GPT image 2 use the extracted frame as reference? Edit, preserve the real person's face. Of course. GPT image 2 needs an OpenAI key, and I purposely actually chose GPT image 2 here so then I can show you how you can pass secrets between your Mac and your Spark. And in this context, this would be an API key. So we're going to set that up with the .env. I'm going to continue. This is useful for you to know, as in reality, there probably is going to be some layer to the internet in your hardware where you are going to have to pass secret variables. So you're going to learn how to do that, where whatever thing you're connecting with, you'll know how to do. So here's another example of that. Residential proxies, IPs, everything like this. You should definitely watch my proxy video, as a very important thing for you to set up is going to be a residential proxy within this infrastructure so that your real IP doesn't get banned. And when you're using these agents in these automatic workflows, depending on use case, I guess, residential proxy is an important thing you could add here for security. But for most of y'all, that might have zero relevancy. Just throwing it out there. Let's let it cook up the plan. All right, so here we go. What you'll notice is, well, what's really cool too is you get like a super dope diagram now. I mean, this stuff's gotten so much better than it used to be, y'all. When it builds this pipeline, it's going to be a lot easier to build other pipelines in the future, because this first one is just brute forcing the underlying architecture that's going to be reusable. And to be honest with you, let's actually ensure that. So I'm going to say this. So I'm going to say, I'm going to want to build other pipelines in the future. Can we make architecture to allow us to easily add others? Hit enter. Other pipelines can really be anything. Another good example is what I do with Thumbio. So Thumbio is a software I run, and one of the pipelines I have is its ability to put out a tweet or a small content studio, a thumbnail artist trying to find a creative YouTube channel art. Show me your work. Like, this is an example of a tweet, right? Get engagement, get views, whatever. That's another example of a pipeline. So there we go. Here's a prompt. Good. Let me make it extendable with a first class part of design. This is a big thing, especially early on in creating architecture, is just use terms like make it scalable, make it easily additive, things like this. So early on, when you keep building in the code base, you don't start with really shaky foundation. So this is an example of making it so that when we want to add more pipelines, it organizes the repo correctly, and it's very easy for us to input stuff and output stuff. With all this done, I'm going to simply hit I'm going to hit execute. Obviously, if I had this connected to GitHub and I was really iterating on this, I would probably want to make a separate branch here and then merge as a PR. But for now, I'm just going to hit execute. A lot of these terms, a lot of this stuff, if at any point you're extremely confused or you don't know what the heck I'm saying, please just check out my other videos on this channel. I just do a bunch of easy breakdowns. This video in itself is inherently already higher level, so is what it is. All right, so when I had finished up here, one thing I had to do after the plan was request an env file for me to provide the OpenAI key here. On top of that, what you'll notice is, we have a very nice architecture here for pipelines and then all of the relevant pipelines here. As I stated earlier in the video, the CLIs there, or maybe I stated that earlier in the series, but the point being is that this is set up. What you'll notice is that on the initial creation of all this, it's going to take a little time. I think this took 10 minutes, maybe 15. It's just downloading a bunch of code. It's setting up the architecture. Once you build out other pipelines, it's building on top of this, right? Standing on the shoulder of giants. Like, it doesn't need to reinstall FFmpeg again once we build the other pipelines. But here we go. We're in the testing phase, and first thing I need to do is provide my env key here, or my OpenAI key here. So get whatever keys you got to use, and maybe this isn't relevant to you, but I'm going to provide it. So I went ahead and provided the OpenAI key here. On top of that, we're going to test this flow end to end. So I'm going to provide my video file, simply just dragging it into chat. And this is the video. Actually, let's just check this video out real quick. So there it is. It's Docker edit. If I double click this, we are looking at a pre-made or edited video, and I'll mute it real quick. It's going to go through the video, go through it. So the idea here is that we're taking a done video file here. It will grab images here, find the best image for the thumbnail. It's also going to get the entire transcript for this video and just give me the deliverables. So we'll drag that in here. And what you typically want to do once a pipeline is done, we're going to say test with this end to end. I will say this is usually like a 95% success rate, but this is what you do, right? So you test end to end with a real video file, real data, see if it works. And if it works, then congratulations. The next time you need to do something via the local hardware, it's just ready to go. It's ironed out, proceed. So while it was shooting off, I was noticing it was doing like bad things. For example, this little process flow here, it was analyzing frame by frame and it had 24 frames. So I just stopped it and I was like, wait, run the scoring in parallel with the Spark. There's plenty of space. So something you can learn right there is that when you run these kind of pipelines and flows, you might need a proctor and be like, hey, is there an optimized way to do this or a more effective way to do this so it can review its own code? A really good example here is that for some reason, the AI never thinks like maybe I should run these in parallel so that I'm not doing 1 by 124 frames, but maybe I'm doing 6 frames at the exact same time. Therefore, it speeds up the entire process. In addition, what you'll notice in this chat is that it's going to run for a good amount of time because it starts self-correcting itself. It starts editing code where it notices there's been issues, it hit errors, and then all you need to do is while it's running this chat is just let it run. It's going to keep iterating on itself. It's going to keep updating the code until it gives you an end deliverable. So by the end of this flow, it was able to give me the title options here and the relevant description via the transcript. I went ahead and just requested the output so I give it more structured. And then over here, you'll notice the relevant frame it got via the Quen local LLM, where it shows a big picture of me like I requested, and then the thumbnail. Now, I know this thumbnail is not amazing. It could be 100% better, but that's just iteration. That's going back and forth, figuring out the right prompt, figuring out the right etc. situation. So what you'll notice here is that, especially in the beginning of creating these pipelines from zero, it's just a bunch of iteration. It's a bunch of going back and forth, fine tuning it to getting exactly how you like it. But then once you like it, it's locked in. You can execute. I can just drag a video file and it's go mode. So there we go. That kind of concludes this series. I showed you a very specific pipeline I use and really just gave you the tool set so that you know when approaching local hardware, how to set up and structure labor via the local LLM and all the different open source code you can install onto it. So make sure you leave a like. It's completely free. And I'll see you in the next. The core quite literally just show the correct architecture to use with these local LLMs to create value type of video.